So I'm hoping this will be a nice quick little video. I've got in front of me a Pioneer Spiral Scratch Player, better known as the Turntable, model PL-115D. So let me grab my record here. Bob Seger, Silver Bullet Band. Includes the hit Fire Lake. Purchased at Kmart for $6.99. Still in the wrapper, only slid it open. Let's carefully get it out of here. And let's fire this baby up and see what happens. So I have a receiver set up here. So that's the left channel. Absolutely no audio out of the right channel whatsoever. Let's go ahead and take the cartridge off the head shell and check the resistance of the cartridge. But let's check both channels, resistance-wise. 1196, that channel's good. Let's check this side, should be close to the same. 1189, that's close enough for me, so I'm going to say the cartridge is good. So let's go back and check the 4 terminals right here that connect the head shell to the tone arm and make sure they're good. Make sure there's no bad connections up in here. 1189, 1197, that's good. That's about what we got before. I have another one right here. This is one I bought back in the early 80s. 1181 and 1208. Very, very close. So I'm going to say that one is good. Well, none of those test good. Let's go ahead and reassemble it. Reverse of disassembly. It's remounted. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove the leads from the receiver. So here are the leads. I'm going to do ohm measurements at the leads themselves and see if we have resistance. So now, as I recall, the right or red channel was the channel that was not working. So let's measure the left or white channel. Polarity is not important here. 1192. This is the red or right channel. It is open. So let's look and see if we have a short from the ground return to any other lead on here, because that would cause a problem. I've got nothing that's open. So this ground lead actually grounds the chassis of the turntable and the tone arm to prevent hum pickup. Because normally in the tone arms of these turntables, they're not shielded wires, they're just 4-pair twisted down in the metal tone arm. And so if your tone arm was not grounded, there would be a potential of picking up hum and extraneous noise. So next we're going to have to pull the turntable apart and look inside. Okay, so let's remove the belt and the platter so everything is safe. I'm going to take off the rubber mat and I'm going to turn this until I can see the motor. And I'm very gently going to just peel the belt up. And if it's a good belt, you can actually release it right here and it'll stick to the platter itself. Next, I'm just going to release this by sticking my fingers through the 2 holes and pushing down gently. And the whole platter will lift off. There's the belt attached to it. I'm going to go ahead and clean that later, and I'm going to go ahead and clean the surface on the platter, the machine surface, to make sure it's in good shape, that there's no wow and flutter once it's back together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the dust cover back on the unit that you didn't actually see come off because I didn't take it off in front of camera. So there is the dust cover going back on. Now I'm going to put down a towel to protect this dust cover, even though it is scratched up. I'm still going to protect it from any more scratches. So just because I know this latch does not hold very well, just takes a slight amount of movement and it releases, I'm going to take a produce tie and tie it around the tone arm so it doesn't flop around as I'm turning this unit upside down. So I've got a couple of terry cloth towels laid out here to not scratch the dust cover any more than absolutely necessary. So I'm just going to take this unit and I'm just going to hold the dust cover closed and flip it completely upside down and lay it down on the terry cloth towels. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove all the screws in the bottom of it. You can see there's some here and some back here. We're going to go and take all those guys out. Oh, there's a ground wire attached. Alright, there it is, off. So there was one ground wire. It's just on a pin connector so you can unplug it. So here's where the tone arm wires actually attach to the board. So the 4 wires are the red, green, white, and blue wires. So let's go ahead and check resistance measurements right here and see what we come up with. So let's check the red and the green. Oh, it's absolutely open. So the blue and the white, we get good resistance measurements. So what that's telling me is we may have a problem on these little fine wires that go all the way through the tone arm. So before I flip this unit over, I'm going to jumper these RCA connectors together and make sure I read 0 ohms here to check the integrity of these leads coming in right here. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and place leads on here like this, just to make sure I get 0 ohms, because I hate to do a lot of work and then determine that the cables are bad as well. So I should get pretty close to 0, maybe an ohm or 2, depending on the resistance of the leads in the cables. 1.8, 1.9, that's good. 1.6, I'm okay with that. So let's check from ground to the leads. Make sure we don't have any shorts. We did that earlier with the cartridge itself and everything was okay. So next, with the jumpers still in place, let's go ahead and flip this unit back over and measure from these connectors up to the tone arm and try to find out exactly what lead is the defective lead itself in the tone arm. So next, I'm going to try to reach the probes up in here. Oh, I saw something for a second. What did I see? 2 ohms? 2.2? That channel's good. Well, both channels check good from here, so what is going on? Could it be just they needed to be taken apart and put back together? Maybe a little bit of oxidation on the connectors? Could that be the whole problem? Well, let's find out. The connections look absolutely perfect. I don't see any issues with those. I'm going to get a little Q-tip and some isopropyl alcohol and wipe these off and wipe off the connections inside here as well. So let me show you what's inside there. So here are the 4 connectors that are inside the tone arm. Sorry, this is shaky because I'm handheld. And they're spring-loaded. So if I push them in, they retract. Hard to tell, but I am pushing them in. Now that I've got the camera on here, I do see a couple of little dimples on these. Could it be just a piece of fuzz? So I'm going to grab a Q-tip and some alcohol and try to clean those off and see if we get better results. So what I got is a pencil eraser right here, one of the white ones. They don't leave much residue. I want to very carefully put it in here and give it some rotations while I'm depressing the spring contacts to try and clean these contacts up a little bit. So it should be all cleaned up. Next I grab a Q-tip and some alcohol and wipe them off. So I've got my Q-tip. I've dipped it in alcohol and I've shook most of it off so it's just damp. So I'm giving it a little bit of rotation while I clean. I'll hit it with the eraser. Wipe them off. Now we'll put it back together and give it a try. $1,200 ohms, 1.2K. Let's check the left one to make sure. That one was the good one already. 1193. That's good. Let's hook it back up. Give it a try. Okay, so I've got the stereo connected back again. Let's go ahead and start it up. There's the right channel. There's the left channel. So it seems like the problem was a connection issue where the head shell attaches to the tone arm. So it must have been that little dot that we saw up in there. Just a little bit of insulation, some fuzz or something. Not sure what. Corrosion maybe? I don't know. Anyhow, it's working great. There it is again, right channel, left channel. It's playing perfectly in stereo right now. Let's go ahead and clean the belt and the motor pulley and the platter and make sure everything works great once it's back together. So let's go ahead and pull the belt off once again. Take the platter off. Now I'm going to take the belt completely off of the platter. Now for this, I'm going to use some acetone. I'm going to take a paper towel, put it against the acetone can, and just wet this corner of it up. I'm going to take the belt, I'm going to fold the paper towel over the belt, I'm just going to pull it through. And we'll see how much stuff it gets off. Look at that. Do it again until it's pretty much minimized. And I'm going to turn it around so it's facing the other way, so I'm pulling from the opposite direction. Very lightly applying pressure with my thumb on my right hand and pulling with my left hand. It's definitely getting better. Do it one more time. And we'll try it one more time. I'm going to re-wet this. Acetone evaporates very quickly. And I'm just going to go to a dry area. Completely dry off the belt. So that's ready to go. Now I'm going to take the platter. I'm just going to wipe around the extremity of it. I still see some corrosion up on there. It's probably been sitting a lot of years, but look how much stuff that got off there. Gotta re-wet it. Wipe the platter some more. Still a little bit of crud, but I think it's going to be much better. Next, I'm going to take my Q-tip, dip it directly in the acetone, flick it off, and clean the pulley, both the 33 and the 45 speed. Now, because there's considerable force on that pulley, I'm going to take a little drop of oil. I'm going to oil the shaft and get a drop. There it is. Make sure it gets down in there. Work it up and down a few times. I'm going to take and wipe the oil in the acetone so it cleans it off my hands. I'll put the belt back on it now. It's kind of a stretch to fit belt. Going to go all the way around to make sure it didn't turn 180 degrees on me. Going to put the platter back on. Put the belt back on the motor. And we'll go ahead and give it a couple rotations so the belt gets seated correctly. All the stretch is taken out of it at that point. Put the mat back on. We'll get Bob Seger back out here. We'll play the next to last track, Fire Lake. There's the right channel. There's the left channel. Now let's put this near the end of the track. And I want to make sure the auto return works correctly. There it is. So I want to make sure when the track pulls in that the auto return picks up and it returns the tone arm. And it does. So bring it back. And it should shut off at that point. All's good. Now somewhere along the line I lost my 45 RPM adapter, so I'm just going to have to try to center it there as best I can. Switch it to 45. Working absolutely great at this point. Okay, we'll make sure it picks up correctly at this point. And it does on a 45, great. Well, I certainly hoped you enjoyed this repair on the Pioneer Spiral Scratch Player, otherwise known as a turntable, model PL-115D. If this video has helped you, please consider making a donation to my YouTube homepage with the PayPal donate button or at paypal.me/NorCal715. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at NorCal715. You can leave me a comment. I'll try to answer it as best I can. Remember, with your help, we can keep these things out of the landfill and out of the recycle bin. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.